So they're like 10 crore young voters. So what advice do you have for them?
I think that, as you probably know, India has the largest electorate in the world. So there are over 80 crore voters, especially in the 2014 elections. And out of those, a majority of them are very young people, and there are over a million new voters in 2014. So I relate to them. I am also from that same background whereby when we were young and we were living in Delhi, we would complain at home and say that, this government isn't doing anything for us. We don't really relate to politicians. Politics doesn't affect our lives. Our vote doesn't matter in a country of a billion people. What does one vote matter? And we would be very casual when it came to voting. I think that really my experiences have changed over the past few years, and I've understood how important it is to engage in the political process. And as a member of the youth, and an educated, informed youth, an urban youth, which is one that typically doesn't vote, I would encourage them to go out and vote, especially this year, because it is crucial. I know that there's a lot of tamasha around the elections. I wish there was less tamasha and more informed intellectual debate so that you actually know more about the candidates you're voting for, what they stand for. Everyone goes on about non-corruption, but what are the actual issues? Where do we stand on foreign policy? Where does BJP versus Congress versus AAP versus, Shiv Sena versus the left front stand on certain things that make a difference to your and my life? So I wish that there was more on that. I know that the youth are I think it's going to be the highest electoral turnout ever. It's already started. First phases have begun in Assam and there's great turnouts. So I think that I have a lot of hope for 2014.
And so what do you think about Nota option? So like, do you think it's a very good move?
You see, as far as I know, I'm certainly not an expert on Nota, but I was also the youth ambassador on behalf of Delhi for the elections that took place in December. So I spent a lot of time with the electoral commissioner as well. And they say that the youth, especially again the urban youth, they are just looking for a reason not to vote. What happens on voting day, it becomes a holiday and people don't go out. And you don't go to work, but you don't go and vote. So they want to take away all the excuses that people have when it comes to not voting. So one of the main excuses that people had was that we don't want to vote for any of these candidates. None of them work for us. So now, on behalf of the Electoral Commission, they've given them a Nota option. So at least the important thing is to step out and vote, exercise your opinion. I personally would not encourage people to vote Nota. I would encourage them to vote for a candidate, because at the end of the day, Nota doesn't have any impact, because even though they count the votes, they're not used to make a decision. So even if people vote 90 out of 100 Nota, they'll only count the 10, and the majority from the 10 will come to power. So Nota isn't really that impactful, but it does give you one less reason. In terms of when you justify to someone, why did you not vote in 2014? You can't say because I didn't want to vote for any of the above, because there is a Nota option.
So do you think that, this social media is helping in engaging these more youngsters in the election process?
Absolutely. I really feel a change in the social political fabric of the country. I feel that ever since, at least the past couple of years, ever since Nirbhaya happened, there was an awakening. I feel it tangibly. And I think, and I really hope that I'm not wrong, because elections are like films. It's a very sad, parallel, because one is about entertainment, and elections should not be about entertainment. It should be far more about education and being informed. But there is, you can't predict what's going to happen. So even the last two elections that we had, we all thought that another government was going to come into power, and everyone was slightly surprised. So I really, I don't think anyone can call this election at this point, even though everyone feels that they perhaps might know who's going to come out on top. I don't think it can be called as yet. But I feel a change in the tempo. I feel an awakening among the youth. I feel that they are taking their powers responsibly and seriously, which is a very good thing, especially the women also. The media has a very important role in that, because they've chosen to cover certain issues in a very good way. And I've seen the way that this election is being covered as well. I've seen the way that violence against women is being covered, and that has changed also in the past couple of years. So I think the media has a very important role to play, especially social media, which the youth engage with a lot. So absolutely, I think so.
And I would like to ask, like, if you get an urgent shoot on poll day, so would you vote?
I've already, the 24th of April, I've reserved just for voting. So I will not shoot on that day, and I expect my producers to understand because we are shooting a film. But I think that it is, as I said, a responsibility to vote. So I believe the 24th of April is the day that Mumbai and Mumbai North Central, which is my constituency, will go to vote. So I will definitely be voting on the day.
But what would you have to say, like for the Bollywoods? I mean, most of them are like going for the award show, IFA, and they're flying to US. So what would you say about them? Because wouldn't they vote or what?
You see, in India, India is a democracy. So everyone has the right to decide what they want to do. If you're over the age of 18, what is wonderful about this country is that everyone over the age of 18, there's universal suffrage and you have the right to vote. Unlike Australia, it's not mandatory to vote. So it is your choice. So your role and my role is to encourage people to do the right thing. For me, the right thing is to vote, to exercise your right to vote, which is not only a right, it's also a responsibility. I can't speak for others. I can only speak for myself. So whereas I feel everyone should make it a priority to vote, and the government on its side, the election commission on its side is doing everything possible to make it easy for people to vote and doing it in phases. There are a lot of polling booths, so it's really not difficult. But I do understand people have to travel and sometimes they're not in the place that they need to vote. But I think that you have enough time between now and the day to vote to arrange your schedule such that you can vote. But again, I can only speak for myself.
Awesome. I would like to ask, you would vote on the basis of a candidate or a party?
It's very difficult, actually. I've thought about this a lot, especially this year. This year, we have some new options. And those options stand for something. And I am positive about the future of this country. I believe that when you vote, you don't only vote for what you want, you vote for what you don't want. And I don't want to tell people who to vote for. But I want them to make an informed, educated choice. Don't vote for someone because you've been voting for someone for so many years. Don't vote for someone because your family support them. Don't vote for someone out of... Really research your candidates. I know my candidates from Mumbai North Central, and you can find out about them. You can look up your existing MPs and your politicians and your MLAs, and their records are there. What have they done? Since 2009 to today, what have the existing candidates done? What do the new candidates promise? What are their records like? So I know a little bit about mine, and I know who I'm voting for.
You also know about the women of India, are voting like power of 49. Do you like to speak something about them?
About what do you mean by the
power of 49? So this time that is an option. So basically 49% of women, go ahead and vote.
Right.
So about that, you would like to talk about something about that?
But I mean,
okay, I'll just ask, I'll make it more specific. Basically, does this political party, do they really care about, women of India? Because the safety of women, people actually kept on boasting, the development, Modi kept saying that, the city development and everything. Rahul Gandhi said women empowerment, yeah. But then safety of women, yes. Have they ever spoken about it? Do you really, what do you think, does this political party is going to be of help?
I think that exactly what you're talking about. A lot of people have been talking very vaguely about corruption being the one issue that we should fight against, because a lot of people have really become very frustrated. We pay so much. Taxes are painful. I get a check and 50% of it is gone immediately, towards taxes which are supposed to go towards infrastructure, my safety as a woman, various other things. You're talking about empowerment, development, education. India remains one of the most illiterate countries in the world. The poverty line, so there's various things. I mean, when we talk about the development of this country as well, we've seen how the rupee, the exchange rate has been affected. So for those of us who are planning a holiday in Europe, it's quite painful. So all of those things, we're contributing so much of our money towards that. And a lot of the people feel that it's not being spent wisely and it's going into the wrong pockets. So corruption is one issue. But absolutely, as you said, when it comes to women and the safety for women, I don't know how much that's being highlighted by the different parties. Corruption is one that everyone is saying that, we're fighting this. But there are other issues. Foreign policy is another one, because I'm a student of foreign policy. Nobody's really come forward and said, what is India's stand on the nuclear doctrine? Are we going to be involved more when it comes to deterrence? Are we going to be involved? What is our stand towards China? What is our stand towards our neighbors? Nobody's talking about foreign policy. Nobody's talking about security against women. Nobody's talking about certain tangible things. I wish that there were more debates that took place between the candidates, so that you could actually see your candidates like they do in other parts of the world. Get up, answer questions that we want to ask them, and see them actually defend their points of view. That doesn't happen a lot. People make a lot of speeches. They don't do a lot of debates.
So can you look at the camera and just say, like, for the youths, to encourage them to vote?
Hi, I'm Soha Khan, and my plea is to everybody really, but especially to the urban youth, because I relate with them, to find out what is your polling day, to find out where you need to go to vote, to find out who your candidates are, and to make an informed and educated choice when it comes to voting, and certainly exercise your right to vote. It's not only an honor, it's not only something that our forefathers fought for, which we take very casually, but it's also responsibility. And this year especially is a crucial year, I think, when it comes to politics. So please exercise your right and your responsibility and vote, make an educated choice.